Hello and thank you for watching the best HDTV reviews. In this video we're going to be helping you learn how to choose an HDTV. What are the important issues that you should be paying attention to? So first of all, understand that there are some general aspects of your TV that you're going to want to pay attention to in terms of deciding what do you actually want. And then once you can nail down the basic criteria of what you want, then you can become more specific in terms of comparing those TVs that actually meet those criteria. So the first thing would be, and these are in no particular order, every individual will have a different importance that they set on each of these issues, and some of them may be not important at all. So the first one is internet capability. Newer TVs, many of them are becoming internet capable. Some of them are capable of connecting to the internet via an Ethernet cable, and some of them are capable of connecting via Wi-Fi. Some of them are capable of connecting via both methods. So the first question would be, do you need access to internet through your TV? And what I mean by that is, do you want your TV to be able to access internet services and sites on its own? So in other words, you don't have to connect a computer to it and use it as a monitor for your computer and then browse the internet on your computer and have it show up on your TV screen, but rather, without connecting anything else to your TV, do you want it to be able to connect to the internet so that you can peruse sites like YouTube and watch YouTube videos, access services like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon for watching movies and TV shows and things of that nature? Do you want or need to have that capability? If you do, then obviously you want to make sure that you have a TV that can do that. And not more importantly, but as importantly, how does it access? Do you have access or ability to get an Ethernet cable to your TV? If you don't, then you're going to need it to be able to access internet via Wi-Fi. If you do, well, then maybe you just want to connect it via Ethernet and you don't have to worry about connecting via Wi-Fi, but that's another consideration to pay attention to. The other thing is that if you do want internet capability, then you're going to have to determine just how concerned you are about the ease of use of the internet interface for that particular TV. Some are much more easy to use than others, and depending on the price tag that you're willing to pay, that may determine just how easy that usage is. So those are things to certainly consider. Another thing that you want to pay attention to is, what is the picture quality going to be of your TV when viewed at an angle? So what I mean by that is, in some cases, in some living areas where you would position your TV and your chairs and couches and everything, everybody will be viewing the TV basically from a forward-looking view, so from right in front of the TV. But in many cases, probably most cases, although some people will be viewing the TV directly on, many of the people in the room will likely be viewing from an angle, sometimes at an extreme angle depending on the setup of your living room. So that being the case, you want to make sure that you're purchasing a TV that allows for good picture quality when viewed at an angle. So certainly, if you're able to go in and view the TVs, you would want to check that and see what the picture quality is as you view it from an angle. But at a minimum, it might help you determine what type of technology you may want to use. And we will discuss which technology to choose in a moment, but in some respects that technology will affect many of these things. For instance, picture quality viewed at an angle is going to be considerably better with most plasma TVs than it will be with LCD or LED TVs. So consider that as as something that you may want to pay attention to if that's an issue for you. Screen glare is another issue that you may want to take a look at, and that may be of importance to you. some TVs are going to have more glare than others. Typically, plasma TVs are going to have the most glare of any TV technology. LCD and LED typically won't have quite as much glare as a plasma. That's primarily because plasma screens are generally glass. The front panel of the screen is glass, and therefore there is a fair amount of reflection and can be a considerable amount of glare. So if the TV is going to be positioned in a room where you don't really have easy access to minimize the glare, say from windows or lighting or things of that nature, and you're going to be watching it at times when that glare would be an issue, then you may want to consider that. Now, some of the newer plasma TVs do have anti-glare features. In fact, most of them probably do. But the effectiveness of that anti-glare technology will vary from TV to TV. So if glare is potentially an issue for you and you won't be watching this primarily at night or in a dark setting, then you will want to consider that in your decision-making process. Screen brightness is also something to consider. If you're going to be watching this TV in a room that is generally relatively bright, and you may be watching it often during the day, then you want to make sure that you're using a technology in a TV that is bright enough to overcome that so that it doesn't look washed out. Now, oftentimes plasma TVs tend to not be quite as bright as LCD or LED TVs will be, and so therefore in a brightly lit room that can be an issue. Now, it's not always an issue. Some of the more expensive plasma TVs may be able to overcome this and are bright enough that you can still very well see the TV and it doesn't look washed out in those environments, but pay attention to that if this happens to be a case where you're going to be watching that TV in a brightly lit room. You're also going to want to pay attention to the blacks that are presented by the screen that you're watching. And what I mean by that is really very simple. When you're watching the screen, anytime there is dark portions, and more specifically black portions of the image that you're watching. LCD and LED screens typically do not give you a really deep black. They give you more of kind of a dark charcoal gray, and in many cases that creates an image that really isn't as high quality as intended originally when the movie was made or whatever, and so it doesn't give you as good a picture quality. The picture doesn't pop as well when you don't have those deep blacks in contrast to the colored areas of the image. And so if you're really wanting to have those deep blacks, plasma is probably the way that you're going to want to go, because that's the only technology that really is going to give you those really deep blacks. Hookups. What sort of extra peripherals are you going to be attaching to this TV, and what type of hookups do they need? You're going to want to pay attention to that. Do you need HDMI hookups? Do you need USB plugins? Do you need an SD card reader? Do you need additional connections that maybe haven't been mentioned yet? Those are all things to pay attention to. So decide what components do you currently have, what methods do they need in order to be able to hook up to your TV, and will the new TV have those hookups available? And not just will they be available, but will you have enough of them? If you have numerous components that all connect via the same type of hookup, then you need to make sure you have enough ports to support all of those different peripherals. Now, you're also going to want to pay attention, and this is really a big issue, and that is screen size. And connected with this would also be the resolution of the screen. Now, in terms of screen size, typically you can kind of calculate what a good screen size is going to be for your room, and what you really want to pay attention to is the distance from the TV that you're going to be viewing it. So, for instance, if you have a living area where you're going to have people positioned, say, 12 feet away from the TV, then a good rule of thumb is to first of all convert that to inches. So 12 feet at 12 inches per foot would be 144 inches. Just multiply the two values together. So if you have a room where you're going to have people sitting 12 feet away, then that's 144 inches. If you divide that by 2, or between 2 and 2.5. That's going to give you a good screen size that you can use for viewing in there that's not going to seem too small and not going to seem too big. So in other words, if you are 144 inches or 12 feet away from your TV, then dividing that by 2 gives you a value of 72 inches. So the diagonal measurement of your TV, 72 inches would be a good size. Now, does that mean you have to go that large? No, because if you were to divide that by 2.5, which is also acceptable, that range between 2 and 2.5 is an acceptable range, you obviously would come out with a value that's somewhat lower than that 72-inch value. So you have a little bit of play there. Also consider, depending on the room, you may have folks that are sitting up to 10 or 12 feet away, while you might also have folks that are sitting as close as 5 or 6 feet away, and you may want to decide whether you need to go quite as big as that initial number might indicate, because of course the people who are sitting closer don't necessarily need a TV that large. And who knows, maybe on most occasions you'll be sitting closer to the TV, and only on certain occasions will you be sitting further away. So consider that in the decision-making process. Obviously price will have to play into that as well, but try not to get a screen that's too small. If you take the maximum distance that you might be viewing the TV from and divide it by 3 or 3.5, you're definitely going to be getting into a range where that's a pretty small screen for that area. So for instance, if you were 10 feet away, that's 120 inches, and you divide that by 3 and get a 40-inch screen, that might be a little bit undersized for that room. It's not a deal breaker, but you may want to pay attention to that. Now again, as I indicated, resolution also plays into this, because the larger your screen is, the higher your resolution you're likely going to want to have in order to make sure that you get a nice crisp picture. So for smaller sets, 35 inches or less, 720p is normally enough of a resolution to get a good picture. Now, if your screen is a little larger than that, it might still be okay to have 720p resolution depending on the distance that you're watching the TV from. But generally speaking, if you're getting up in the 35, 40, 45 inch or larger screens, you're probably going to want to go or gravitate toward the 1080p models. Now, technology type we've kind of discussed as we've gone through this process, and what I mean by that is basically LED versus LCD versus plasma, and which one is going to fit your application best. Now, just going through some of the pros and cons of each of these different technologies. For plasma, some of the major pros in favor of that technology would be that your black levels are very good. You get really dark black colors, and that's especially valuable in dark rooms. So if you're watching your movies or your TV with the lights down, or you really like to watch your movies in a dark room, just like being at the cinema, then those blacks are going to become even more critical, because in a dark room, a dark charcoal gray really doesn't look very black. Now in a bright room, it may not be a big deal, but if you like to watch in a dark room, then those deep blacks are really going to become much more important to you in terms of getting a really good quality picture. Again, as we indicated earlier, the viewing angle is definitely better with plasma in terms of the picture quality. As you move to LED and LCD, viewing from an angle oftentimes does not give as good a picture quality. Now, the cons for plasma is that, one, they do have higher power consumption. So in comparison with LCD and LED, you are going to consume more power with the plasma, although the distinction I don't think is as great today as it was a few years ago. But if that is an issue for you and a concern, then you might want to consider that. As we indicated earlier, the glass screens that you will find on plasma TVs potentially are going to have a reflection or glare, especially in brighter rooms where there are close by windows or lighting that you really can't control. That glare could be an issue. So if you do consider plasma, at least look toward those TVs where people have indicated that the anti-glare technology that they're using seems to be relatively effective. Also, in bright rooms, plasma TVs typically don't fare quite as well in terms of the picture itself. Often the picture isn't as bright as it will be on an LED or LCD screen, and so if you are watching often in a very bright room, then the screen or the picture quality may not seem quite as good. It may seem a little bit washed out in a brighter room. Now, in contrast to that, you have LED and LCD, which are similar technologies. They're related, but LED typically are going to be much more expensive TVs, especially more expensive than LCD, but oftentimes more expensive also than plasma. They do offer very good picture quality. They're much lighter than plasma TVs. Plasma TVs are oftentimes very heavy, can be up to 100 pounds, and so that may be a consideration as well in terms of whether you're going to be able to mount that TV on the wall effectively, or how easily it's going to be, how easy it's going to be for you to lift that TV up into position wherever it's going to go. Now, LEDs use very little power in comparison to other technologies, and again, I did indicate that they were very light. They're also very thin, so you do get good picture quality with an LED. The blacks won't be as deep as plasma. The brighter colors or their brighter screens will be brighter than plasma. So if you're typically watching this in a brightly lit room and not very frequently in a dark room, then LED might work well for you. LCD also low power consumption. They generally have a matte screen, so you're not going to get a lot of glare with an LCD, and they typically do also very well in bright rooms because, again, they're going to give a much brighter picture. You're not going to get the real deep blacks, but you will get a brighter picture, so that in a bright room they would typically be a better option than most plasmas. Also, some of the newer plasmas do offer good brightness, at least good enough to have a good image in a brightly colored room or brightly lit room. Again, the cons, specifically LCD, the picture quality won't be as good. Your viewing angle won't be that great as soon as you get off to an angle on LCD, and also LED TVs. Your picture quality will not be as good as they would be with plasma. So those are really the big issues to pay attention to. One thing to go back to in terms of screen size, and this also relates to technology, as I've just indicated, is the size and weight of the TV. Recognize that obviously screen size is going to affect the quality of picture that you see depending on how far away from the TV that you are, but it's also going to affect the room itself in terms of, if you already have an entertainment unit and you decide to upgrade your TV to a larger size, don't forget, make sure that it's going to fit in your entertainment unit, or make sure that you have the money available to upgrade your entertainment unit as well, because it could add considerable cost to this TV upgrade if you have to upgrade the entertainment unit as well. Also consider the fact that if it is a very heavy TV, either because of its screen size or because of the technology type, mounting it on the wall may become a little bit bigger issue than it would be otherwise, not only in terms of just getting it up there, depending on whether you have other people available to help you mount it, but also in terms of the mount that you purchase and how you're going to hang it and the amount of weight that it will hold. That may prove to be an issue as well that you should probably consider. So, watch more of our videos, of course. If you really want to know what TVs are going to fare best for you, now that you know these criteria, and you can at least narrow down, okay, I think I want plasma, I think I want a TV of this size, I think I need internet capability, those sort of things, then go through our videos and find the categories within our YouTube videos that fit the classification types that you need, and watch the videos to find out the specifics about those TVs and the things that people said that they thought were good about those TVs, the things that they didn't like about those TVs, and try to find one that fits your price range, that has all of the things that you want and hopefully none of the things that you don't want. So I hope that this video has been helpful to you, and I hope that you will take a look at all of our other videos, all the best TVs reviewed. That really is what we do. We discuss all of the best rated TVs in numerous different size and technology categories and help you weed through all of the information to make an educated decision. We really don't review poor quality TVs. If you were to buy any of the TVs that we reviewed, there's a pretty good chance you'd be happy with them. But we do try to give you the additional information that you need regarding those TVs to maybe compare them and contrast them and find the ones that will be most specifically appropriate for your situation. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in further videos. Take care.